Alright, so what I'm going to be doing today is installing a Windows Server 2008 virtual machine here inside VirtualBox. So the first thing I want to do is click on New, and we're going to name it Server 08. We'll keep the type as Microsoft Windows, and then we want to come down here and change it to Windows 2008 32-bit version. Click Next. We'll keep the size at 512 megabytes. We'll go ahead and create the virtual hard disk at 25 gigabytes. We'll click Next. We'll leave this dynamically allocated as well. And we'll create it. So now that it's been created, the first thing we need to do is go into the settings. And network, we need to look at the network. The first adapter is enabled. We need to change it from NAT to internal network so that it can communicate with pfSense and everything else that we're going to be installing in this virtual machine. So that's good. We'll click OK here, save those settings, go back into the settings and look at storage. Now here we need to attach the ISO file just like we've done in the pfSense, this one right here, this ISO file, and we'll click OK, and now we're ready to start up the machine. Okay, now Windows is going to be loading up the files, and this is going to take a few minutes. Okay, so now we're at the install screen, and we're going to keep everything like it is in English and press Next. We can go ahead and install now. Alright, the next thing we need to do is choose which type of operating system we want to install these. I'm just going to go ahead with the first one that we have, the standard version. I'll click Next. We need to accept the license terms. And since we're not going to be upgrading from anything, this is going to be a clean install. We need to choose the custom version, the advanced. And this is telling us where we're going to put it, and it's the 25 gigabytes that we have reserved for this disk, so we'll put Next. And now Windows is going to start copying the files, and this is going to take a while, so I will come back when there's another decision that we need to make. Okay, now there's a couple of things that we can do while we're waiting for the installation to complete. I can go back into the settings of Server 08, and in the storage, you can go ahead and take this and unmount the disk from the virtual drive since it's already installed on the virtual hard drive. So we can remove that disk. I'm going to go ahead and power on pfSense, which is starting up our router, so that when we do get into our Windows Server 2008 desktop, we can connect to the network. Alright, so now we're back and Windows Server has been installed. I have the router up and running. The first thing we have to do is change the user's password before we can log on for the first time. Since we're the administrator, we will go ahead and put in a password. To change this, and it tells us that our password has been changed, and now it's going to bring us up to the desktop. Okay, so the desktop has loaded up, and we'll note down here that we are connected to the local network through our pfSense router. But we need to do here is configure something statically, the IP addresses DNS. So to do that, we'll configure networking. And this is our connection, so we want to right click down here and go to the properties. So what we need to look at is Internet Protocol version 4. So now that we're here, we're going to configure these addresses statically instead of obtaining them automatically. Our IP address, I'm going to assign this a 172.16.0.10. And for the subnet mask, I'm going to configure it to be 255.255.255.0. Now for the default gateway, I'm going to need to make that the same as my router. So I will use 172.16.0.1. Now for the DNS server, I'm going to also make that the same as my pfSense router. So I'm going to put 172.16.0.1. And here for the alternate DNS server, I'm going to use the WAN of my pfSense router as well. So I will use 10, in my case, 10.0.2.15, and then we will accept those changes. And we can close this out. And for a test to see if we've got everything done correctly, we'll go ahead and open up a web browser. Just hit on Internet Explorer here. And we have some options here we can look at as far as enhanced security, but I just want, for the purposes of this, I just want to make sure that we can browse the internet. So I'm just going to type in Google, for instance, google.com. And yes, that's okay. I'll just go ahead and close this out for now, and close that out for now. And we're at Google, so I do have internet connection through my network, through my router, and that's what we needed to accomplish today, and it looks like everything's up and running smoothly.